Welcome! In this video, I'll be grading the Toronto Maple Leafs at the Olympic break. The gold medal game was actually just played a little while ago, and games should get started back up on Wednesday, February 25th. I know I haven't done a video in a very long time. My apologies. Thanks to all my subscribers for sticking with me. Two young children can really change your life. Just ask any other parent out there. Really, change it drastically. Anywho, before we get started, please give me a thumbs up and hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. Eventually, I'll make more of these things on a more consistent basis. Now, the last wildcard spot belongs to Boston at the moment. They're 6 points out with 25 games left. It doesn't look good. They'd have to go on some sort of crazy run just to make it in. And of course, you know, we all think of Boston having Toronto's first round pick this year, which is only top 5 protected. We want the Leafs to do as good as possible in order to give them the worst pick as possible. But I just don't see that happening. Realistically, they're not going to make it. And even if they do, they're going to need some sort of a retool here. But let's start with basics. Who are UFAs? Who do they have to flip? Because that's what I think they need to. I mean, it depends on your philosophy. Retool, rebuild. I think it needs to be a soft retool, especially with Matthews' contract going to be expiring in the next couple of years or so. Let's begin with Bobby McMann and the forward group. He's a UFA. He's one of the fastest guys in the league, can put up about 20 goals in a regular season. He'd be a perfect fit on a second or third line. Everyone says he's from Edmonton. He'd be a perfect fit there. But if you think Edmonton's going to go to the final again this year, maybe you want to look at some other teams first, because ideally, you'd want like a first-round pick back for him, right? And if you're looking at one of those other teams that are just squeezing into the playoffs, maybe you'd get a higher pick from one of them. But, you know, beggars can't be choosers. He's got to go. After that, you start to see some question marks, at least in the forward ranks, right? Starting with Scott Laughton, who I think a lot of people love, albeit him playing on the fourth line. He should be getting more minutes, at least third line minutes. You know, what about throwing him in beside Tavares from time to time? Why not push Tavares to the wing and have him center that line? I want to re-sign this guy and extend him, but if you're Laughton, you're like, I'm not going to be playing 10 minutes a game. I want to go somewhere else. But he does love Toronto. He's from there. In a perfect world, what I would love would be for them to say, listen, we'd like to trade you right now, see what we can get for you, like maybe a first or second rounder plus a prospect, and we'd like to re-sign you in the offseason. In the perfect world. You approach him, you have a conversation, you extend him, or you trade him. You just can't lose him for nothing. You know what? I'd give him the C, and I'm only half joking. Moving along here, Cal Youngkruk is also a UFA. If you can get a bag of pucks for him, you do that. Then there's some RFAs with Arbrights, and I'm talking about Matthias Maselli, Nick Robertson. Maselli, I think Cowan and Domi, when it comes to smallish wingers who pass the puck a lot, is enough. Maselli, they're going to end up giving Utah a third-round pick for this season, so you see what you can get for him. Worst case scenario, at the draft table, maybe you flip him. Nick Robertson, at this point, he looks like he's going to be a regular 20 to 25 plus goal scorer per season. If he can just get some more ice time, maybe a team like a Chicago or a San Jose could give him more minutes, and you can get a draft pick that's worth more from a team like that if they're not making the playoffs. If you don't extend him, you got to flip him, but there is not necessarily a rush to do that right now, depending on what the Leafs are offered. I have Nick Waugh here. He's got one more year left on his contract. Now, if you extend Laughton, I think that's when you look at flipping Waugh and seeing what you can get for him. A big centerman, third line, with a year left on his contract, you should be able to get something decent. Laughton is your new third line center. You bring up Quillen. He's your new 4C. I think that's a good plan as well. Max Domi's got 2 years left on his contract. He might be harder to flip. Depends on how desperate teams are out there. If you're not playing him beside Matthews, he's worth much less to you further down the lineup. I know he usually plays a little bit better in the playoffs, but if you're not going to even get there, right? Now, moving on to the D, Stetcher is the only UFA, and I love this guy. He's a great bottom pairing right shot defenseman, which are hard to come by. If you can get a good bag of goodies for this guy, like a second or a third or something, I know it's Stetcher, but he's played amazing. You consider it, or you extend him. And I have nothing against extending this guy on a 2, maybe even a 3-year contract, because who knows what's going to happen with Chris Tanev. Even if he comes back, you feel like the next hit may be his last. OEL has got 2 years left on his contract. You could plausibly get a first rounder and a blue chip prospect for him. He's having a great year, leads the Leaf in goals from defensemen, the exact player the Leafs need, but if you can get a first and a blue chip, you do it. Brandon Carlo has got 1 year left on his contract. If it's not a decent return that you can get a la what they gave up for him before the trade deadline, then maybe you wait till the next one. And then there's other guys here like Simon Benoit. He's got 1 more year left, as does Phil Myers. A 5th rounder for Benoit or something. Bring up some of the young guys, you know, like Villeneuve. Myers is unplayable, really. If you can get a bag of pucks for him, you do it. Then there's Morgan Riley, which I seriously doubt that is before the deadline move. He's got 4 years left on his contract, by the way. He's around 31 years old. I think he's the worst in the league when it comes to being on the ice when a goal is scored. Maybe a team like San Jose, who I think only has 1 defenseman signed after this season, maybe they look into this guy. Maybe you get something for him. Maybe if they do have to eat money, they could get some picks coming back. Again, it's probably an off-season move. Moving on to the goalies, you got to trade one of them at least before next season, right? Because Hildeby, he can't be waived anymore. He's got 2 years left on his contract. Wall's got 2 years left after this, around $3.5 million. Ditto with Stolarz, although Stolarz is 4 years. In this instance, obviously, I'd rather flip Stolarz and keep Wall and Hildeby. But if the package is good enough for any of the other ones, if it blows you away, you think about it. Now, before I give you my grade, I'm just going to throw some stats at your face where the Leafs sit at right now, proving to you that it's going to be very difficult for them to make the playoffs. Anyways, goals for. The Leafs sit in 14th right now. Colorado's in 1st. Goals against. The Leafs are 28th in the league. Ouch. Colorado also in 1st. Power play. They're 22nd. It has improved since Mark Savard left and Sullivan came in. It's had some peaks and its valleys on the way. The PK, for the most part, has steadily improved. It's 5th in the league. And surprisingly, Chicago's in 1st. Penalty minutes, they sit 28th. Tampa Bay's in 1st, not surprisingly, with Boston and Florida right behind them. Face-off win percentage. Leafs, since Tavares have arrived, have always been in the top 5 in this category. They're 1st right now in the league, just over 56%. And then Ottawa is in 2nd. Am I going to sneeze? No. I thought I would for a second there. Hits. Leafs are 6th. The Rangers are 1st. Blocks. The Leafs are 8th. Detroit is 1st. Shots for. The Leafs sit in 21st in the league with just over 27 shots a game. Colorado's 1st with just over 34. Shots against. Leafs are dead last. They let in just under 32 shots a game. Carolina's 1st in this category, letting just over 24. Then we move on to the giveaways per 60. You do not want to be high in this category here, folks. And the Leafs are 2nd with just under 16 per 60. The Vegas Golden Knights are 1st in this category. Unbelievable, especially seeing as how Vegas has 5 more points than the Leafs, and they sit 1st in the Pacific Division. The Pacific sucks, but still. Then we look at takeaways per 60. You do want to be good in this, high in this category. The Leafs are 11th. Carolina is 1st. Now, when it comes to players with double-digit goals, Leafs have got 7 of them right now. Matthews leads the way with 26. Then there's JT, Bobby McMahon, William Nylander, Matthew Nyes, Nick Robertson, and Matthias Maselli, all in that order. When it comes to goals from their D-men, the Leafs sit 22nd in the league and have 22 goals from their D. In contrast, the Columbus Blue Jackets are 1st with double that amount, with 44 goals, 20 of which I think are from Werenski, but wow. Columbus, by the way, sit 4 points back of Boston for that wild card spot. Now, OEL, as I mentioned earlier, leads the Leafs with 8 goals. Riley is 2nd with 7, and then McCabe and Stetcher with 3 apiece. Shooting percentage, Leafs not too bad here. They're 7th in the league, just about 12%. Montreal's in 1st, just over 13. Team save percentage is .894. That's 15th in the league. Colorado's 1st in that category with a .910. Now you've got Wall in 25 games as a .910. Hildeby in 19 games with a .912. Stolarz in 16 games with an .882. He's having a rough year, obviously. And Primo, with the 3 games he played, with an .838. How do I grade this team? I'm going to be nice and give them a D-, I think, because they did show some life at different points, when I say around Christmas and so on and so forth. But inevitably, they've really disappointed, right? And then we'll have to look at, the philosophical question. again, are they retooling? Are they going to burn this to the ground? I think it's going to be a retool. Realistically, does Brad Trivling stay? That's the big question. Does the coach stay? I hope they get a new coach. More so, I hope they get a new GM. Brad hasn't showed between Toronto and Calgary that he's got enough of a creative mind to retool on the fly, to get creative with, pushing out some assets and bringing some assets in, like an Armstrong from St. Louis, or look at Carolina, or even Dallas. He hasn't really shown that, and I like to see someone else behind there. Maybe Prindham, maybe Kevin Adams, who was fired from Buffalo, who as soon as he walked out the door, he started doing really well, but he basically built that team. Maybe he's the next new hot executive. Maybe there's a mix where you make one the GM and one the president. I don't know, but they need some new blood in there. But one of my even bigger peeves with the Leafs, especially being, the most valuable team in the league, money-wise, is why don't they have one of the best scouting staffs? They have one of the worst. With all that money, why aren't they just throwing suitcases of it at poaching some of these guys from other clubs? I don't understand this, because this needs to be addressed immediately. It's unwarranted with the team, with the moolah that these guys have, that they sit where they are right now. Anyways, I've been blabbing on for too long. Thank you so much for watching. I hope to see you soon. If you'd like to support me and my channel, you can do that through my crowdfunding page called Buy Me a Coffee. Don't forget to hit the thumbs up and smash that subscribe button if you haven't already. But most importantly, folks, please remember to be excellent to each other.